To some breaking news now, an NBC News exclusive with the top U.S. commander telling our team that armed Russian jets have flown over a U.S. military base in Syria nearly every day this month in violation of a 4-year-old agreement between Washington and Moscow. This is according to the general in charge of air operations in the region. Courtney Kube, our Pentagon correspondent, has just broken the story for us. She has scrambled to a camera. She is joining us live. Court, it feels like, and your reporting indicates, there is the risk here is of escalation at a very sensitive time already between the U.S. and Russia. Talk us through it.
Yeah, that's right. So what we saw over the Black Sea last week is the perfect example of how something like this could go wrong quickly. The concern
and you're talking
here
about
is,
over the Black Sea when that
exactly.
Russian jet dumped a bunch of gas or fuel on this American drone. It was like a whole big thing.
Right. And it wasn't just that. It wasn't just the dangerous flying. It was when that Russian jet clipped the U.S. drone, causing the U.S. to have to down it. Well, that could have gone a lot worse, right? So in this case, nearly every day this month, Russian fighter jets armed at times with either air-to-air or air-to-ground missiles or even bombs are flying over this garrison or U.S. base in southern Syria called a Tanf garrison. Now, as you mentioned, there's this long-standing agreement between the U.S. and the Russians flying over Syria. They call it a deconfliction agreement, and there's a phone line that they use when they're concerned about potential close calls or when they may be flying near one another. But as part of that agreement, they agreed that they would not fly over areas where the other had ground troops. The U.S. military, according to General Grinkovich, who is the head of the component command there for all the airs and skies over that region. He says the U.S. is still adhering to that agreement, but the Russians are not. He says this behavior is provocative, and he's concerned that it could potentially lead to a miscalculation.
So what are they going to, and Courtney, again, this is truly, you have just broken the story. I'm looking through it now. Talk me through what they're going to do about it, right? Like, in other words, obviously coming out and talking about it publicly to you on the record is significant for the military. Are they issuing a warning to Russia? Are they having, like, where does this go?
So that deconfliction line, it's literally a phone line, and there's a colonel, usually an Air Force colonel, right, on the one line at Al Udeid in Qatar. They call an equivalent in Russia, and they talk to them every single time this occurs and say, why is your aircraft over our airspace? What is it doing? They send up aircraft. So exactly what we saw, frankly, last week when the Russians said they intercepted the drone. Well, the U.S. does that as well, but they don't go anywhere near as close as those Russian aircraft were. They stay quite a ways back and just watch it. They shadow it, see what's happening, and then report back. But so far, even with those deconfliction calls, even with the intercepts, the Russians have not changed their behavior yet, Hallie.
Do you think, is there any sense they will?
No. I mean, at this point, no. The most recent one of these incidents was literally a couple hours before I spoke with the general on the phone today.
Courtney Kube, it is excellent reporting. Again, it's such a sensitive time geopolitically for these two nations. Court, thank you so much for getting to a camera there at the Pentagon for us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.